Hi, my name is Beyond Sadistic. This is the MTGPL Legacy Live, and with me today is Oliver V and all of you. How are you guys doing today? Oliver, how are you doing today, man?
Today's a fantastic day. I get to sit down across the interwebs for my bud, and we get to jam some fantastic games of Paper Legacy. It's hard to be disappointed on the day like today.
No, I will totally agree with you. I have had the chillest of chill days today, and I've just been sitting back, doing nothing, waiting for this to happen, and it is time. It is finally upon us. So, not only am I usually the one that streams and does the somewhat of the host role for Legacy Live, but tonight I am actually going to be playing as well. So, I get to do double duty. I said duty for you
You
guys.
did duty.
Did say duty for you guys. So I'm actually really excited for this. I get to play one of my favorite decks, one of my new favorite decks. I have this weird obsession with transformational decks.
You have
So
an obsession with Knight of the Reliquary
I do.
and having Knight of the Reliquary in all these different transformational decks,
I
just to
do.
be clear.
Just to be clear. So what I have is I have Dark Maverick sleeved. And in a binder, a little tiny binder, it's a cute binder. It has Applejacks, Punishing Maverick, and Green White Depths. And all of these decks literally can just inner sleeve in and out, and I can build whatever I want when I go to play. So today, I get to bring out one of my favorite versions of that, and that is going to be Green White Depths. So today, I'm going to probably get my butt kicked, but I am on a 3 Yavimaya build. Prismatic Ending in the board, Chokes in the board. I'm still on Plague Engineers just because of with my local metal and how I play. Plague Engineer is still an absolute banger for me. I love Depths. I love Depths. I'm a huge fan. Oliver, I know you also have a Reclaimer deck. What do you think of Green White Depths and how it plays right now?
Well, let me put it like this. This deck is exactly the reason why I'm very disappointed I started selling my Mox Diamonds a few months ago. Like this is the reason that I look back with a little bit of sadness. I do have that major issue where now every time anyone says, "Oh, I play Abzan Reclaimer," I'm like, "That's not Abzan Reclaimer. That's Abzan Depths. There's no Feel of the Dead." But whatever. That's just me picking straws and arguing over semantics. This deck is incredibly scary to me. It's one of these amazing decks that it has the Maverick game plan of being able to grind exceedingly well, but also just have a way more substantial clock. You're not killing me with Knight of the Reliquary and Questing Beast anymore. You're going to be able to grind me to a point to when kill me with a 2020, right?
Right.
And the other great thing is, unlike I'm a Rainbow Depths player on the side, right? So I'm used to killing with 2020s, but that's my only game plan. But with this, you also can beat me in with all of your little green white dorks and get there eventually. So it's one of those fantastic things where you can just grind against really any sort of deck that you're up against. Maybe you aren't actually able to grind against like the post variants, as probably the one exception to that.
Fair.
But there's no real way to hate you off of this deck, right? It
Right.
isn't just a matter of me holding up crop rotation and crop rotting for wasteland. We're going to make the merit age to win, right?
Right.
Because I'm going to lose to the Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons why I love it so much. It gives me the flexibility to play the game plan I want. Honestly, if this deck had Titania in it, it would probably be the perfect deck. I remember when you and I and Prez and Mike were all sitting down, my perfect deck is a Mox Diamond, Life from the Loam, Knight of the Reliquary, Questing. I mean, it's all these things together. And unfortunately, I just don't, there is not one deck that plays that game plan very well. There's four. So I was like, well, screw it. I'll just build all four of them then, and I'll just play them all at once. So up against Depths, Oliver thought, why not play another mid range ish type combo deck? And Oliver is bringing Bant Foodchain. So
So,
tell us about Bant Foodchain.
all right. Well, this deck is absolute gas. So the best part about this is we get to start off today with the exact matchup that ended our last invitational. So this last Saturday, we had our quarterly invitational. We had our season 4 happen, and in the final bracket, we had Bant Food Chain going up against Abzan Depths. Right?
Right.
Bant Food Chain being piloted by the one and only Malfi against Dalibor, one of our EU players on Abzan Depths, and we had an absolute banger of a match. It was actually a bracket upset. We do for those who don't know, we do losers bracket, 2 loss to get out sort of tournament for our invitationals, and it was just super cool to watch. our decks are a little bit different than those, right?
Sure, sure.
Malfi on his food chain list was running a really low combo version where I'm really kind of leaning into it a little more. The big thing with food chain is everyone always looks at it and says, "Oh, look, it's a combo deck, right?" It isn't really a combo deck. I'm just trying to put a couple of Mist Hologriffins in play and out mid range everybody. All of a sudden, they have vigilance. They're unkillable with a food chain out. It's fantastic, right?
Right.
Um, I am leaning a little bit more into being also be able to convert that into walking ballista kills. That, as you can see, with the 3 recruiter package and also the 2 walking ballistas, all food chain lists they have at least 1 walking ballista. But I'm really leaning into that. And then also the amazing thing about that recruiter is that other line of text of being able to turn off counter spells for a turn, right?
Right.
Sack it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you can't interact with me, and I'm just free to go off. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell, though, right? I like to grind. I like to play mid range games, but I want to combo out. I want this game to be done in like sub 30 minutes. You know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
it's a really cool list. My sideboard is a little old, just to be totally honest. They're like the EE really needs to come out, but I'm excited to get to play around with it for sure.
Yeah, and mine is the same way. This is my actual factual paper deck that I have. For instance, I'm still on Deafening Silence and Force of Vigors, and some of the other decks are on the Evoke, the green creature that's the Evoke, like the what is it? Like the Night of Autumn type creature. I can't remember what its name is. My only bit of black splash is for Plague Engineer. I have no Abrupt Decays. I have no Thought Seizes. So I'm assuming the meta has got a little bit of a switch. I know the green white depths. I've seen a couple of them that run Urza Saga with a Shadow Spear. Why wouldn't you want to Merit Lage with a Shadow Spear? But I'm not on that right now. I do have the cards, so that way if I do want to do that, I can. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Us old timers playing old timey decks and doing old timey things, right?
Oh, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Pickle Plop is here in chat with us,
Yeah,
and
Pickle
yeah,
Pop, what's
that
up,
this
man?
is what I've been playing in this month's league.
Yeah, I wish I got more time to play League. I'll be totally honest.
Pickle Plop absolutely killed it, and I think has just absolutely won our pool. I think only loss was to me, and then 1 out after that. So it's like,
Very cool.
I
Congratulations.
think Pickle Plop has locked it down.
Nice.
You want to do odd even to see who goes first today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take odd always.
Oh, it went off. Let's keep it on
Even
6.
it is.
I
So
will take that play.
I bet you will.
Nice. Congrats on that 4-1 Pickle Plop.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think that it's actually impossible for you to lose out at this point, just because I've already lost twice, and I'm the only person who could beat you if we had a point tie.
As you guys,
Do you
uh, oh, you know what? I didn't even do that. Good call.
here at the MTG Paper Legacy Discord, since we're online, right? It's like I gotta cut my deck. Gotta make sure I'm just not cheesing my opponent. So what we always like to do here is just do the 1, 2, 3 on top.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
take 2 on top.
Sounds good. What do you want? And I'll put the one on your right on top.
What am I right? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. When we went back to playing in-person paper for a little bit, right, going to like the local game stores, I definitely was really bad at cutting my opponent's deck,
Yeah,
and would
same.
just kept piling out the 3, going, which one do you want to put on top? Everyone thought I was trying to scam them. Unfortunately. Ooh, so I guess this is the sort of matchup where we really can play open face, right? So
Yeah, definitely.
for Legacy Live, we really like to be talking through our plays. I have a 5-land hand with Force of Will and Eternal Scourge. This is just super easy for me to throw back.
Yeah, I actually have somewhat of a banger here. I am on Elvish Reclaimer and a Green Sun Zenith. I also have a Knight of the Reliquary, and then I have a Mangroven Sump, which is Bayou for you English folk, Savannah, a Flagstones, and a Wasteland. So I literally have everything that I want to just obliterate here.
All right, that's really scary. Actually, I wish I hadn't seen that hand.
Yeah,
Now I'm really afraid.
yeah. You're gonna.
1, 2, or 3.
We'll put 3 on top.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and all of my decks, you guys are all sleeved in Dragon Shield, matte art, and brushed. I have a weird obsession with these. Also,
This hand is almost a banger, right?
yeah.
Like honestly, this is the type of hand that if we had like a single fetch land, I would absolutely be going for it just off the Noble Hierarch, Food Chain, and Miss Hologriffin plan.
Mhm.
But we gotta throw it back. We going down to 5, baby.
Yeah, 5 it is. For those of you guys in chat, what are some of your like little intricacies with your legacy decks? Like I said, I have all of mine are in ultimate card like sidewinders and dragon shields. I'm really OCD about that stuff. We'll put 1 on top, Oliver.
Changing it up every time. Well, we will keep this one.
Yeah,
Gonna have to think for just a little bit here.
sure.
Well, actually, here we'll show this. So we have a 2 snow-covered island hand
Hmm.
with Food Chain, Manipulate Fate, Brainstorm, Prismatic Ending, and Force of Will.
Right.
Prismatic Ending's going to go just
Even
because
though
I don't
it's
have the color requirements for it quite
right.
yet. I mean, absolutely keeping the Manipulate Fate. It is a draw 4 in this deck. Just because I'm able to go and get my things that can be cast from exile. We'll keep that Food Chain as well, just because that's going to be my way of trying to catch up from this really heavy mulligan. I do think I'm going to ditch the Force of Will here. I'd be lying if I didn't say knowing what this matchup is slightly a factor in that probably.
Sure.
But also, I just want to be able to try to get deeper and get to actual other color sources. So that's why we'll be keeping that brainstorm,
Yeah.
and they'll go on the bottom.
Yep.
And sweet, let's go ahead.
Go for it.
We'll go with that fantastic snow-covered island and pass to you, my man.
I will draw for turn. We will start ourselves off with um, Mangroven Sumph into a Green Sun Zenith for 0.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to get good old Dryad Arbor and then pass turn to you, sir.
Sweet, sounds good. We will. I'm not going to fire off that brainstorm yet. We're going to try to resolve this manipulate fate first.
Sure.
I'll go with snow covered island, and we'll play manipulate fate out.
Sure.
Manipulate fate, an absolute banger of a card. I'm able to go ahead and get 2 Mist Hologriffins and the Eternal Scourge, put them into exile, and draw a card, essentially giving me access to 4 cards of resources for later in this game.
Which is super nice.
Oh, amazing. And we're going to hope that this draw gets us into another land. Unfortunately, that natural draw step did not get us for it. So we are kind of going to be up the creek if we aren't able to get a fetch land relatively soon. And I'll go ahead and draw and pass it to you.
Sure. Untap and draw for turn. So we continue to just draw essentially what we're looking for. Black Power 89, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. We appreciate it. Here I'm kind of in a bit of a situation. Do I want to put my Elvish Reclaimer down and start being able to ramp even further with my Flagstones? I actually, with 2 green sources, I did draw another 1-drop, or I also have the Wasteland and another creature that I drew. So I'm kind of I kind of have multiple paths that I can go here. The Elvish Reclaimer is going to do me a lot better in being able to selectively ramp what I would like to get. A Knight of the Reliquary being an absolute banger. I do know, with the Manipulate Fate being cast, I know what my opponent's on, but them being on 2 islands means my Wasteland right now is kind of not doing much. So I think internally, I'm going to play out a Wasteland. That way, my opponent knows that they have to be selective with what they go and fetch. And then I'm going to tap my Bayou and play my Elvish Reclaimer and tap my Dryad Arbor. And I'm going to play a Sylvan Safekeeper. And then I will pass my turn there.
Ooh, now that's pretty terrifying, actually. So I really want to be able to remove this Reclaimer. However, the Sylvan Safekeeper being there makes it a lot harder. And normally with this deck, we don't have to worry a ton about Wasteland. We're a 6 basic deck that is naturally wanting to fetch for that anyway. Um, but because of what kind of happened with our mana base, starting with the 2 snow-covered islands and not really finding any lands, it we are in this really tricky spot of I would love to be getting fetch land and fetching for my 1 of Savannah, but that really is no longer an option. I am going to have to choose a single color for me to go with that. Um, we just to show where my hand is at, the 3 draws that we've had this game is this another second food chain, another prismatic ending, and a force of will. We are going to need to fire off this brainstorm right now. Really would love to see 2 lands on top.
Right.
We see Ponder, a Flooded Strand, and a Force of Will. So we'll get rid of a food chain. That's a pretty easy and free one for us to be getting rid of. The issue is because of the Sylvan Safekeeper, all right, the Force of Wills aren't amazing, honestly, in this sort of matchup, right? Especially with an onboard Elvish Reclaimer. You can just kill me through that. So I think what I want to be doing is a prismatic ending on Reclaimer is at least nice in that it lets me eat 1 of your land drops.
Correct.
So I think what I am going to ditch the Force of Will instead.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and I'll play Flooded Strand and Fetch.
Sure. That'll put you down at 19.
Yes, yep.
First blood.
There we go, baby. We'll go ahead and get the snow-covered plains.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this wasteland is really making it so I can't afford to go ahead and go and get the savannah here. Oh, however, the nice thing is that brainstorm finding us a ponder is I will be able to fire off a ponder as well this turn, and the prismatic ending, which will be my plan. Just basically try to slow Beyond Sadistic down to a certain extent, make it so he isn't able to have a ton of lands in play and be able to convert them into Thespian Sage and Dark Depths very quickly.
Right.
Uh, and then hopefully find green source and be able to kind of chain in my Mist Hologriffins and Eternal Scourge quickly. Go ahead and do that cut. I'll start off with the Ponder.
Good call.
Ponder's going to reveal Prismatic Vista, Food Chain, and Force of Will. I'll put we'll just take the Force on top. We will already be drawing that Prismatic Vista. Again, we don't really want that other food chain. I'm not worried about you removing it, to be totally honest.
Sure.
There is the threat of Prismatic ending, but at this point, I don't think I can really afford to be playing around that. We'll go ahead and draw, and then I'll try to jam this Prismatic ending on one, targeting the Elvish Reclaimer just to eat a land.
So here's where it gets interesting. I know that my opponent's on a lot of basics. The Wasteland is a threat. If they were to top deck one of their duels and not be able to fetch for it. However, I do have a free land creature also that really doesn't hurt me a whole lot here, but it is a green source. So with the texture of my hand, I already know what I have. I have another green source in my hand. I also have another way to be able to get this back. So I am actually going to get rid of the Dryad Arbor to Sylvan Safekeeper, so that way we can give Elvish Reclaimer Shroud.
Sounds good. And I will pass it over to you.
Sure. I'm going to untap and draw for turn. So a little bit of a poor draw there. We drew one of our utility lands that we really want to be able to fetch for and not actually have in hand. It kind of doesn't do us a whole lot, unfortunately. So I think right now what we do is we're gonna play out a Flagstones. So
ooh, this is the combo, baby.
This is the combo. So we're actually going to activate or tap these two, and we're gonna activate our Elvish Reclaimer and sacrifice our Flagstones right now. So this allows us to go get a Plains card and then another land and put them on the battlefield.
It's amazing what Flagstones and Elvish Reclaimer are able to do together. That's actually when we talk about my version of Reclaimer that isn't actually a depth deck instead of Field of the Dead deck. It is all about that combo and turning Elvish Reclaimer into both a tutor, right, but also specifically a card advantage engine, right? You're strictly ramping yourself.
Yeah, it works out extremely well. I think in this spot, we really want to be getting. I think we'll get a Savannah, and then we're also going to get.
Oh, HC. So Beyond Sadistic does know that I'm not on a Terminus deck just because of the Mist Hollow Fate that resolved, going ahead and getting all the food chain creatures.
Correct.
That really is enough to know that you don't really need to be worried about a Wrath, at least in the this game one.
Yeah. So we're gonna go and get we're gonna go get in Savannah, and we're gonna get a Thespian Stage. So our opponent pretty much already knows that we're on a depth deck. With running Elvish Reclaimer, the only thing they don't know is if we're on a Field of the Dead build or not. I'll cut my deck here. So let's see. These two enter the battlefield tapped. And no creatures, so I'm going to move to combat, and I'm going to attack for 1 with my Sylvan Safekeeper.
Swing in, get me down to 18.
So that'll put Oliver to 18, and then for turn, I'm going to play out another Savannah, and then I'm going to pass turn.
Right. So the difficult situation that I'm starting to get into is we'll go ahead and draw this known prismatic vista on top. Um, I'm not going to be able to win with a Miss Hollow Griffin beatdown plan. Um, Namely because I can beat a Dark Depths with a Mist Hollow plan, just because I'll be able to attack into it, recast my Mist Hollow Griffins, and then just keep blocking every single turn. But the issue is this active Reclaimer makes it so I know that the Sageri step will be able to come in and just name blue and go through to dome me. So because of this, I'm going to. There's part of me that if I am on the Mist Hollow Griffin plan, I wouldn't be fetching at this moment to keep to get this second food chain on top, basically be able to play around the other prismatic ending and make sure I can continue doing that Miss Griffin plan. However, I think what I actually need to do here is I need to get rid of this, and I need to be on full combo plan at this point. I
Yeah.
need to actually be able to spike one of my recruiters or one of my walking ballistas, and just be able to kill out through combo. I think that's going to be my only potential way of actually getting there. We'll go ahead and fetch with Prismatic Vista, clearing off the top and going and getting the forest. And I'm just going to go ahead and right away cast out one of my Mist Hologriffins. We'll go ahead and shuffle right after this. I'm going to be fetching before my draw step anyway. And this is just putting a better body in board rather than the Eternal Scourge. And I'll go ahead and pass to you.
Logan, you are 100% correct. I did play the Flagstones. So I will untap for turn and draw. So we were pretty lucky with our draw there. So we ended up drawing a Dark Depths off the top, but we know we know that there is a creature to be able to block this. So Oliver would have to combo off next turn to be able to kill us here. So I am going to play my Dark Depths right now.
Yeah. So this is scary.
Yeah. So this basically puts him in the position where he has to be able to win here. He's got a creature on board. I want to be able to save all of the mana that I have here. It makes me wish a little bit that I would have gone and searched for a Yavimaya instead of a Thespian stage. However, at that regard, I'd put me even a turn slower. So I think I'm just going to hold up where I'm at here and pass turn. So this way, at the end step or at instant speed, I can make Merit Lage, and then hopefully we have enough. So Oliver has to basically combo off here and win.
Oh, absolutely. Like we previously discussed, the fact that we know Caesari Step is in all of these decks, it means that I can't be on the Mist Hologriffin block and just recast plan. So this is kind of it. We went ahead and we cut. I'm going to go ahead and draw. We drew the third Force of Will. We got these Force of Wills a little late after that Mull to 5. Hasn't really been any spells cast since that second turn. We can cast Food Chain here. We'll go ahead and just do full combo.
Yep.
Start looping. We're doing it right now like this instead of attacking for 3 just because we do have that Merit Lodge. And I'll pass.
Sure.
Here's the hope. The hope is that Corey forgets about the Sageri step. That's the out here.
That is a very good out. I will agree with you. And I'm actually gonna activate Thespian stage here at end step and copy Dark Depths. So at end step now we have Merit Lage.
So what do you use for your Merit Lodge token? This is the real question that the people want to know.
It's pretty boring. Oh no. Wait.
Oh no, it's gonna be a sleeve. I'm gonna get beat by a 2020 sleeve.
No, it's in with Lord Windgrace. Hold on.
Oh, there you go. You know, Merit Lodge is legendary. There can only be one in a collection. That's exactly what that text means.
All right, so we will go to untap step, and we will draw for turn. Now, when we were on previously, we said we drew one of our utility lands, and ultimately that
Was it the Shiziri step?
we did draw a Sajiri step, so we will play a Sajiri step, and we will target the Merit Lage and
I
name.
will attempt to force of will your Shiziri step.
Sure, that'll resolve.
God damn.
So yeah,
And smacked in the face, naming Pro Blue. Mist Hollow Griffins cannot block, and that is game one.
yeah,
Man, and really got to see how good Green White Depths is good at grinding, right? You
yeah,
resolved 3 spells that game. A Green Sun Zenith on turn 1, and then literally a Sylvan Safekeeper and that Elvish Reclaimer, and you just were able to play lands and just win, you know what I mean? Like, it turned the Force of Wills that were drawn completely off, right? There was just never even an option to use them at any point.
right. So let's talk about sideboards. Let's talk about your sideboard first. So let's pull up your deck picture here, and Cardboard Live is active, so you guys will be able to see this as well. So in terms of your sideboard, you have 2 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Swords of Plowshares, a Flusterstorm, a Grafdigger's Cage, an EE, a Prismatic Ending, 2 Veils, 2 Endurances, a Sylvan Library, a Surgical, and a Force of Vigor. What are your plan here?
So there's a few potential things that could be done here, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I'm not a wasteland deck, and I really have no way of interacting with your land base, so I'm not going to be actually going on the surgical plan. Engineered explosives could be brought in, basically trying to deal with exactly the one drops, basically the reclaimer,
Mhm.
just as another threat to be able to deal with that. At the same time, Grafdigger's Cage is another potential out, right? Where Grafdigger's Cage, I can try to make it so your Green Sun Zeniths are turned off. I'm not a big fan of that with this deck specifically, of bringing in a single Grafter Gauge, just trying to hit your Green Sun Zeniths and lock them in,
You're right.
even though that's something that's reasonable to do when I'm on the play. If I just play a turn 1, hopefully I can lock 1 or 2 in your hand. What I'm going to ultimately do is I'm actually going to be bringing in Prismatic Ending, 2 Source of Plowshares, and 1 Sylvan Library.
I think that's
Um,
fair.
because of just the nature of this matchup, I'm not horribly worried about you hitting me down quickly. So that Sylvan Library trying to get me to my key pieces. Again, I'm keeping full combo in. A lot of times with Food Chain, the way that you do it is you end up siding out Walking Ballistas or and some combination of your recruiters as well, and just going for that full fair mid-range and control plan in the second and third game. However, that's not what I want to do here. I want to be able to just win out.
Right.
And so I'm going to be bringing in these 4 cards. I probably will trim on at least 1 recruiter just because we do need a couple of flex cards. We do want to be able to get all these flex cards in there to slow you down. Again, we saw how absolutely critical the Reclaimer is to be able to hit. That's why Prismatic Ending is coming in. And then Swords is a good card against Merit Lodge, it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what my game plan is. What are you going to be doing?
Well, I will pull up my deck picture here real quick for everybody. And again, Cardboard Live does have the sideboards there, so they are active for you guys as well. So on my side, I have 2 Choke, I have 2 Prismatic Endings in the board and a Blast Zone, a Collector Roof, 2 Plague Engineers, 2 Thalias, an Endurance, 2 Deafening Silence, and 2 Force of Vigors. Honestly, so the interesting thing here is Choke is a really good card against you. Being able to kind of shut off blue with your mana base is pretty good. I don't know if it's really exactly what I want to be doing because you know exactly what I'm on, and I kind of have to decide: do I go into a grind game plan and fight through how much removal you're going to be bringing in, or do I just try to combo as fast as I can here? The Collector Roof, I think the Blast Zones is really not the greatest here. My Prismatic Endings and are pretty much only really valid against like your food chains, because all of your other creatures you can cast out of exile, so that really kind of hurts those. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in Chokes and I'm going to bring in Force of Vigors. I think that's a really good game plan there. I like the idea of bringing in Thalia as well. You're a Force of Will deck, and you do have a lot of non-creature spells that you're also trying to cast. I think that's pretty much really it. Endurance, I don't think is really going to do me a whole lot. Deafening Silence, I guess I could. Yeah, Deafening Silence really doesn't do anything either. Just because
Deafening Silence is
you're
nothing against Food Chain.
yeah,
All
you're
my
a
things are
creature-based deck.
creatures.
Yeah. So, and that's really kind of where Thalia. I don't know if Thalia is really the greatest thing to be bringing in or not. That's kind of where I'm at. I actually think this is a little bit more difficult for me sideboard wise, just because I don't know if I trim on removal in this game plan. I've not actually played against Food Chain.
So to fill everyone in on what I'm really doing, I'm taking out Force of Wills. It's really the two things to hedge is I can hedge on combo or I can hedge on the Force of Wills. As we see, Force of Will can be really bad in the late game in this matchup. Essentially because a onboard reclaimer that isn't answered will just be able to win the game and outgrind me regardless. The issue is kind of haymakers coming out of the board. I am playing it, so I don't really know what those haymakers in the sideboard are. I'm not horribly worried about choke because I am bringing in my third prismatic ending, so I do have multiple answers to be able to deal with that. At the same time, I mean, I like while I am get it's if I draw the islands, that's going to be kind of the thing that can punish me. But I am able to fetch defensively and try not to play horribly into choke. And honestly, the real reason to be keeping in Force of Wills, knowing what the way that Corey is going to be sideboarding, is going to be the Force of Vigors more than anything else. If I am trying to combo, again, that's the game plan that I've really committed to. I'm not trying to grind against the deck that's unfortunately able to beat the Miss Hologriffin plan with that one Sajeri step. Ooh, that Sajeri step so good. But HC Fox, you have a real good point there. Corey could have dignity and not play choke, but I think choke's going to come in anyway.
I actually think I'm going to cut on a Flagstones. I'm going to cut my Endurance. I'm going to cut on a Thespian Stage. I'm going to cut on a Dark Depths.
What about Wastelands instead?
Yeah, well, Wastelands are also a good one to go to. I am on 3 Wastelands. That's probably a better, just so I'm able to keep.
The only issue is, so we know that I have a Caracas in my list.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep
and we
one.
didn't see it in game 1.
I'm going to keep one
But
Wasteland.
you did see how intense I was on basics, right?
Yes.
Where we ended that game with 4 basics in play.
So if I keep one Wasteland, it almost allows me to keep it as a utilitarian slot, and I drop the Endurance, 2 Wastelands, and a Thespian Stage, and then I'm going to leave Thalia out, I think.
Really, that's just the power of crop rotation, isn't it? Right, where it's like,
yeah,
maybe I'll need Wastelands this game. It's okay. I'll keep in 1, and I'll essentially have what 9 copies in between the 4 crop rotations and the Elvish Reclaimers.
That and
That's
Flagstones
great.
also allows you to go get a land as well. Or sorry, it allows you to go get a plains with, so you're basically not even down a land if you're able to use your Reclaimer to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the combo.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to bring in Thalia, but honestly, with how many creatures you have, and I think Thalia is just really not going to do enough to tax you. I think the chokes are going to be a lot better. That, and if I'm going to lean heavier on crop rotation or want to, the last thing I want to do is to tax myself, especially with Green Sun. I'm really a toolbox deck, so Thalia has its places, and I could see a world where Thalia comes in here. I just don't know if it's really the best. If you were a straight non-creature combo deck, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think Thalia really does want to come in. Again, I'm able to just play around it so much. My spells are all so cheap besides Food Chain, right? Manipulate Fate being 3 is kind of hard, but it's whatever. It's still a draw 4.
Yeah,
Lady
definitely.
Vitos, I hope you are doing well. In theory, we have Cardboard Live up. Those might be on the side. I'm not sure if it's actually up. I don't really have Twitch open at the moment, but
it
might be there.
What I had the deck picture up. It's a little bit harder for me to play and stream at the same time. I'm sorry. Oliver, you can put 2 on top.
2 on top. I'll put your middle on top as well. Let's find those good 7s.
That's right.
And I'm on the play, of course. Really would love to see a Noble Hierarch draw so I can be able to accelerate ahead. Oh. So this is another 1-lander hand. Unfortunately, it isn't one that I'm really willing to work with. We only have a single Brainstorm. We see the Uro, Prismatic Ending Swords. It's just not something we're going to be keeping. I'm going to take that virtually free mulligan. I'm just going down to 6. If that one is a miss, though, I will be a little sad that I didn't just take that and hope for the Brainstorm to be able to get me there in the first 2 turns.
So here's a really interesting hand. So I have a Windswept Heath, a Sajiri Step, and a Dark Depths. However, I have a Crop Rotation and a Mox Diamond, which means I can technically. Well, no.
You turn 3.
Yeah, I also have a Swords and a Knight. So the problem is, I could, depending on what I end up drawing off the top, I could probably make a Merit Lage pretty damn quick. However, if I stumble, I'm in a ton of trouble.
I think that's a keep,
I think it's a
honestly.
keep, though. Absolutely, I agree. Because I think I ditch the Sajiri step to the diamond, and I think I just kind of go. I totally agree with that.
Or hear me out. Or do you do turn 2 knight and ditch the dark depths?
That's another way to go too, because I can crop
Go,
rotate.
yeah, well, go dark and then just,
I'm gonna
I
get a
don't know.
draw. I'm gonna get a draw phase anyway, so I think I am actually gonna keep this. So this will give me the opportunity to see what I actually get off the top, and then I can pivot from that point. So, plus you're down a card, so
Yeah, I suppose the dream is you getting another land off the top and then just being able to Mox Diamond ditching the Cesare step relatively freely
yep, I agree.
and then still be able to turn 2 knight. Oh god, Mox Diamond's so good.
Mox Diamond is where it's at. Yeah, I agree.
Ooh, this is difficult. We have a savanna and a snow-covered forest and manipulate fate, but we don't have a blue source. We are absolutely going to keep this. I'm going to actually be ditching the walking ballista here. I like Uro in this matchup quite a lot. It's kind of a great long game grind piece. I
hmm
have 2 points of interaction in case I have to deal with early Elvish Reclaimer and the Reliquary. But yeah, we're just going to go with it. Put that walking ballista down to the bottom,
Cool.
and I am good to go.
Fire away whenever you're ready.
We'll go snow-covered forest and pass.
We'll draw for turn. Not exactly what we wanted to draw off the top. So, hmm. I think we lead off with a Windswept Heath. And then we play the Mox Diamond, and we are gonna discard the. Oh, we are gonna discard the. Yikes!
The worst part is this moment matters so much, right?
It
Like we
really
want to go
does.
quickly because we have an audience, but at the same time, it's like this might be the decision that's most meaningful this game on what you ditch with the Mox Diamond.
I'm gonna ditch the Sajiri step, and then I'm going to pass turn.
So that's a great thing for me to see because all of us, we talked about how that one Sajiri step and all of your tutors make it so much more difficult for me to do the fair Mist Griffin game plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, now things are relatively reasonable. Um, so this is difficult. We drew Ice Fang Waddle. We'll play the Savannah for turn. Again, we really don't have castables. I really, really am thinking about just going ahead and cashing in this prismatic ending on your Mox Diamond to try to slow you down.
Right.
There was no Elvish Reclaimer that came out, which of course is my primary one drop I want to be hitting out of your deck. However, because how much I'm stumbling with this Manipulate Fate, Uro, and Ice Fang in hand that is uncastable at the moment, I'm just going to go ahead and cash in this prismatic ending on the Mox Diamond.
So that puts me in a position because um, there's really nothing else I can do at this point. I kind of have to let it happen. I can fetch in response, but it just gives me a a trigger that I can fetch in response to. Um, with the texture of my hand, there's really no reason for me to crop rotate my fetch land away um, to go get a Thespian stage and hope I draw like a Yavimaya off the top. That would be the best case scenario if I were to
Yeah,
draw.
but in theory, all that does is save you a single damage from just having to do it at a later point with that land, right?
Correct, absolutely. So the prismatic ending is obviously going to go. We're going to tap this for a white in response.
And I'm going to go ahead and pass.
Yeah, and the only reason why we tap for a white is just gives us the opportunity to, if he were to play a noble backup, then we can Swords to Plowshares the noble in response. So I'm not gonna fetch. I'm gonna go with natural draw, and because the poor situation that we're at now, yeah, I think we fetch now. We go down to 19.
The great thing for me here is that there's no way Knight can come in, right? That's half the reason we jammed this prismatic ending there, is just
Yeah,
trying to slow things down a little bit and not completely lose.
let me get a Savannah.
The other very scary thing is I am opening myself up to Wasteland, unfortunately, with this snow-covered forest savanna draw. We kind of saw how much I was prioritizing going and getting the snow basics previously with my fetch lands on that last game. However, that is not an option. And with the way that we're looking at already with our mana base, having a Wasteland just hit us down would be hugely detrimental. I mean, that this Earl would probably never actually become live.
We're gonna play a Dark Depths for Churn.
Okay.
So, and we're gonna pass at that point.
Sounds good. This is good for me. There needs to be a crop rotation come out in order to actually have the 3 mana. Look to draw. Oh,
There it
and we got
is.
it. That feels insanely lucky. We could either we have all these are cantrips right now, right? I'm either going to do the Ice Fang Coatl, I'm going to do the Manipulate Fate, or I'm going to go ahead and do the Uro. We're just
Right.
going to cash in the Manipulate Fate, get us access to all those resources that we'll be able to exile away. Go and get. So it's always interesting with manipulate fate is technically we have eternal scourge in the list, making it just a little bit easier to combo basically from an ice fang. The issue is that the grind plan isn't as good with the eternal scourge. However, 2 Mist Hollow Griffins tends to be good enough to be totally honest. So we will get the eternal scourge as well.
That
Go
and
ahead, shuffle up
there's
and
no
draw.
hidden information in terms of what you're up against. You know exactly what it is too. So the Mist Hollow Griffins are basically just, yeah, like you said before, infinite blockers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we find food chain, I'm going to feel very, very good about the Mist Hollow Griffin plan.
Yep.
And again, just because that Suzeri step having to be discarded away to the Mox Diamond was really, really huge.
However,
I'll go ahead and draw.
we are on open deck list between Oliver and I. However, we're playing with them as hidden information. So,
And we drew the other Misala Griffin. That's hilarious, actually. I'll pass over to you.
sure. So I'm gonna go for natural draw, and we're just pretty much sitting here being punished because of the fact that we got rid of the or that the Mox Diamond itself got destroyed. So we're missing land drops now, and our hand is really bad because of that. So we are on a Swords to Plowshares, Knight of the Reliquary. We just drew a second Knight of the Reliquary, and then we have a crop rotation, a Sylvan Safekeeper, and a Knight of Autumn. So we're pretty much, if we play out the Sylvan Safekeeper, more than likely it's going to eat removal, and we'd have to get rid of a land to be able to save it. It's really not the greatest thing. This also prevents us from being able to crop rotate in response to something. However, I am going to play my Sylvan Safekeeper because this is a target. So what this does is it tells my opponent, hey, I may be able to do something here. This is a creature you can remove. If you have removal, you can use it. So I am going to play out the Sylvan Safekeeper. There's not a whole lot else that I can really do. I cannot. I really can't stop Oliver's combo in terms of a Swords to Plowshares, just because I think you can play through that. You can combo through it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Swords, unfortunately, does not actually interact with me that well.
No.
It is interesting here whether or not I spend the swords here. So the fear is if I don't spend the swords and you just chain a couple land drops, I'm going to wish that I had removed it, especially if I chain other removal spell.
Right.
I don't think if I spend the swords here that you're actually going to pop either of your lands at this point. However, the thing is, as long as that's in play, you're going to be able to play around my removal spells on the key pieces. I'm going to hold it for right now, but this might be a place where I should be actually swordsing, even though it's very clear what the trade that Corey's offering me, right? Even if we aren't talking about it,
Yeah.
it's clear what's happening.
Yeah. Just because
but we will hold it for the moment.
I would rather this eat of swords than Merit Lage. So if some opponents that you play for look at this as just, this is the ultimate threat. This is on the board. This is not. It's here. You know, it's a couple turns away. I'll waste my one removal spell on this. I can always draw another one, right? So it's basically just gives your opponent another target to fire their removal at. That opens you up to be able to combo around and still win. So
this is a huge draw. I found Food Chain.
Yeah. So that's pretty much.
Needless to say, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be passing again. It's actually really fantastic that we went and got the Eternal Scourge.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass, be able to Ice Fang end of turn, and then slam Food Chain and be able to go full Mist Hollow Griffins and even get a cantrip off Uro. Ooh, That feels good.
Absolutely.
And pass to you.
Yeah. So my opponent passing, that tells me exactly that I have to do something. This turn is the only time that I have to do anything. So we'll draw for turn.
Well, at the very least, it at least tells you there's Ice Fang, right?
Right, exactly. We did draw a land off the top. We drew another Savannah. Um, Unfortunately, there's really not a whole lot. If we play, um, we really have nothing that we can play. We're down mana. Merit Lay or Dark Depths doesn't tap for mana. We're sitting with a bunch of 3 drops in our hand. We can't crop rotate for pretty much anything
You
that
can
will
crop
help.
rotate for Yavimaya, right?
I
And have access to Knight this turn.
I can. I don't know if that's really. So if we do that, I guess that's really the only game plan we have, just because we have no other option to be able to go and do anything else. So because you're going to play a food chain, you're going to combo next turn. So I'm not going to have the opportunity to get a food chain with Night of Autumn.
The one nice thing is, because if you do think I am going to combo, all that's known is I'm putting Missile Griffins in play. And
Right.
we, of course, with full information, know it's incredibly unlikely for me to draw. At the moment, at least, I don't have the Recruiters or the Walking Ballista that was on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah. So we are gonna crop rotate,
Sounds good.
and we'll take the Savannah that we just drew, and we'll get a Yavimaya, and then we will play Night of Autumn, or Night of the Reliquary. Sorry.
Got those beautiful old border Yavamayas. I will go ahead and flash in Ice Fang Waddle.
Sure.
We will get this draw. We actually drew second source of plowshares, so we're going to go ahead and with this extra mana that we have up, we'll just go ahead and spend the swords on your knight after it resolves,
Sure.
and basically make you choose whether or not you want to actually keep that, or if you care more about having another land in play.
Well, we do have another Night of Autumn, or Night of Autumn, a Night of the Reliquary right now. So it kind of puts us in the position, do we save it? If we do, we cannot cast a Night of Autumn, and we cannot cast another Night of the Reliquary. So we are going to let our Night of the Reliquary go. This is going to gain us 6 life here.
So unfortunately, because I am not on full combo plan at the moment, that gaining 6 life is quite relevant in terms of the clock that I'm able to put on. I'm going to go ahead and draw. We'll play a Misty Rainforest per turn. The nice thing about that is now that we have an additional land drop, if when we're comboing off, if I Uro into a cantrip, we can actually be able to cast it.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and spend. I guess first we go to combat, right? That's
Yeah.
just correct. Go to combat and swing for 1.
Yes, no blocks. So I will take 1 and go to 24.
Sounds good. So the real worry here is whether or not there's Force of Vigor in hand. That is the one thing that will be able to stop us from being able to go deep. However, it's worth it to just try to do this. I'll play Food Chain.
And Food Chain, we have no responses to. So
I will go ahead and exile Ice Fang Quaddle and make 3 blue mana. And put Eternal Scourge on the battlefield. So now, of course, priority passes.
Yep, and I have no responses
this is the real moment.
to this.
Oof. So this is where it gets real big.
Yep.
This is where we know that we'll be able to just go for it. What I'm going to do is just start the loop. I'm just going to keep exiling Eternal Scourge to Food Chain, making 4 mana of 1 color, recasting it. We'll just make infinite blue and infinite green and infinite white, whatever, thousands of each. I'll play the 2 Missile Griffins from exile. We'll go ahead and play the 1 Uro that we have. Go ahead and gain 3 life, draw a card, and absolutely get the king of all hits off of that. Play the Missile Griffin from hand. We hit the Ranger Captain of Eos on top. Just full infinite. And go and get
Walking Ballista.
One of the 2 Walking Ballistas. Cast it for X equals a bajillion and machine gun down. So we're going to go to that game 3.
Yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot there I think we could have done differently. We kind of stumbled on land drops that kind of hurt us. I mean, there was the play in the beginning where we did discard the Sajiri step to Mox Diamond. However, we're a 2 Sajiri step deck, not a 1. So that also gives us that utilitarian slot still in the deck to be able to go and tutor for another one. So, no matter how we play it there, I really don't think there was much else we could have done. But that's one of the downsides to playing against a combo deck in essence, and we're a combo deck, so we know how it goes. So. For you guys in chat, what would you have done differently that game on either side?
Well, for me, hindsight, knowing that there's two Shazari steps, because I legit thought that there was just one, and that's why I was extra comfortable with that Miss Griffin plan there. So good, good to know. Now I get to be extra terrified for the next time. Oh, good. I got so cocky about that too. It was just like, oh, look at these Miss Griffins. They're gonna block forever. No, that's not apparently what's happening. God damn.
Well, that's why we play with open deck lists. You just have to look at them, unfortunately.
I'm not about that life.
So, sideboard wise, I really, going back and looking at our sideboard, which is always a good idea. The prismatic endings definitely have a little bit more appeal just because they were able to, that would have given us something that we could have had play against a creature in play, but again, or the food chain, for instance. However, Force of Vigor is just a better option, so I don't think I'm going to switch that up. I'm still not going to bring in the Thalias. A Blast Zone could be an interesting thing. However, that really slows down my plan. I have to not only tutor for the Blast Zone or play it, but then I also have to have the mana take them a turn off to be able to put counters into it. Collector Roof, still just not really the greatest card, Deafening Silence. I really don't think there's much else that we're going to do. We're still going to keep the two Wastelands and the Thespian stage out of the deck, along with the Endurance. How about you, Oliver? Are you changing anything?
Oh no, we're gonna keep this the way it is. I mean, this also, when I'm looking at your list, because now I'm actually looking at the list, just so we're clear. It'd be amazing if you could comfortably take out the Bajuka Bog against me.
Yeah.
The fact that Uro's there is just like this thing where it's like, for me, I'm just like, yeah, I'll play a 3-mana Explorer that's a threat and needs to be answered, right? Like,
Right.
but it also does this amazing thing where, yeah, it'd be nice for you to be able to keep in Blast Zone just because that late game just completely stopped me from having a food chain out. But you kind of gotta get rid of that. You kind of have to keep that Bazooka Bog, where that would be the other thing that you would potentially be able to get rid of.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. And the Bajuka Bog, honestly, is just the quick answer to Uro, whereas Prismatic Ending is not. So
No.
Bajuka Bog, that's one of the really awesome parts about the depths, about a depths deck in general, is all of our abilities to be able to, outside of crop rotation, our opponents can't interact with us being able to go and get those utilitarian lands. So they're kind of just stuck with us being able to do that, and that's just one of the things that they have to worry about. So you, sir, you can put 3 on top. How about me?
You can put 1 on top. And here's the scary thing. Corey's on the play here.
I am now on the play.
I have been lucky in being able to be on the play these last 2 games. Now I have to be able to stop Corey from just absolutely spiking on me with a turn 2 or turn 3 Merit Lodge.
Yeah, so we actually drew a pretty banger of a hand. I'm not gonna lie. We have our Reclaimer, we have our Fetch, we have a Scrubland, we have a Savannah, we have a Knight of the Reliquary. Hey, we've even got a Ramanap Excavator, and then we've got the banger of all bangers, Choke. So we are gonna absolutely keep this hand.
Well, for me, I have 4 lands for the first time in an opening hand, so I'd love to see that. I also got a Brainstorm, an Ice Fang, and a Food Chain. We're running with this. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way to be all the way around. We're gonna start off with a Savannah into good old Elvish Reclaimer, and we'll pass turn.
And how I hate to see that. I mean, we saw just how powerful this card was in the first game. I'm going to go ahead and draw.
Card selection is king, let me tell you.
Ain't that the truth? So there is the question of whether or not I should be leading on Tundra here, just to go ahead and get a Brainstorm in to be basically digging for removal. The reason to do it on this turn 1 is so I can Ice Fang the second turn. I don't think I want to be doing it that way. I'm just going to go ahead and play Snow-Covered Forest out and pass.
Sure. And to me, this signals either my opponent is off the colors that they need to be, or they're playing around me being able to wasteland them off colors. So to me, that actually shows weakness. With this, we're going to untap and draw for churn. We drew actually a great piece because of the fact that we know how good and how fast the combo is. I am actually going to go to combat, and I'm gonna, I think,
Smack me.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that just because there's really not much else we can do, right? We'll hit you for 1 right now.
I'll go ahead and go down to 19.
Which is probably something Oliver is glad to see, because that means that we're not going and getting a land at end step. We're going to play out. Oh, we're going to play out a fetch land, and then we're going to pass.
Ooh. All right. I'll go ahead and draw. So the question here is whether or not I play Tundra. I don't want to. I don't want to go and play my 1 fetch lands before I fire off this brainstorm, especially because now I have 2 brainstorms in hand. What I am going to do is I'm just going to play Tundra and pass, planning on going to play Ice Fang Waddle on this next turn. And then we'll be able to cantrip and look to find a removal spell.
And then at end step, we're actually going to fetch.
Nice.
We will go down to 19.
What's the... Huh. What's your point of interaction here? You're not going to flash an Endurance on me. It's only 2 mana. Why are we fetching at end of turn?
Because it makes you wonder what I've got in my hand.
Ah, there we go. See, again, I could just look at the deck list, but I'm not smart enough to do that.
So we're outside of the realm of actually. Let's see. With what we have in our hand, I think at this point we're just going to go. Where is it? We're going to go and get our other Savannah.
Okay, so not going and getting access to black. Don't need to worry whatsoever about getting basics against me.
We'll untap, and then we'll draw for turn. So we drew another. Another creature, which is a decent creature. However, our opponent's keeping mana up, so we're going to see if we can push them to use their mana. So we're going to go to combat and we're going to attack.
It's not worth it for me because, of course, Ice Ink Waddle does not have Death Touch. I'm not going to be flashing it in right now. We'll go ahead and just take this 1. Love to see that we're not getting any Reclaimer activations happening on us.
Yeah. So we're going to play out a Scrubland.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to tap all 3, and we're going to play a Choke.
So the Choke is a little scary, especially because I wanted to tap down this Tundra. This has gotten a lot harder. I'm not going to cast this Ice Fang. So I'm going to have to brainstorm looking for a Prismatic Ending at this point, unfortunately. I don't think I'm going to be able to get there through this. Though there is some possibility of being able to, honestly. Huh. This is interesting. I'm not going to tap down this Tundra yet. We will... That resolves.
Okay, perfect.
Sweet.
So we will pass turn.
I'll go ahead and draw. So at this point, we have multiple food chains in hand. It would be lovely to just go ahead and jam it. I don't want to actually jam it until I'm about to be using it, however. The real issue here is that we don't have any of the Exilers, so we need the Manipulate Fate or the 4 Exile cards. And that's kind of what I'm waiting on here. I will go ahead and jam out this Misty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to brainstorm quite yet because I wouldn't even be able to utilize the Prismatic Ending yet.
Right.
Which is, of course, that's what I'm chaining. That's what I'm digging for. I'm digging for either Prismatic Ending or the Manipulate Fate / the Manipulate Fate or Exile creature effects. I'm just going to go ahead and pass back with 7 cards in hand.
Sure. We're going to untap and draw for turn. So here's where we're going to start. We drew a Flagstones, which is where we really want to start being able to ramp Now that we know our opponent has they're kind of on the back foot a little bit because this choke has put them into a position where they have to wait. If we play the flagstones out, this gives us the opportunity to not only go and get a combo piece, however, it will also ramp us as well. So that allows us to do a little bit more on our turn. So we definitely don't want to be attacking with our Elvish Reclaimer now. Now it's just, do we pass and do it on their turn, or do we do it on our turn? It really doesn't matter if we do it on our turn or their turn. I guess if we do it now, that will also force them to use their mana on our turn and not be able to untap with it next turn. So I think we are going to do that. We're going to tap, and we're going to sacrifice the flagstones to the Elvish Reclaimer.
Flagstones triggers.
We're going to go get a plains with our flagstones. However, all of our plains are on the deck, or on the battlefield. So this is going to go and get us a basic plains as soon as I find it. And then this gives us the opportunity to go and get I think we actually get a Thespian stage here.
Okay, so my heart rate starts to go at this point. I really need my brainstorm to land and either get out from underneath this choke or try to set up combo.
So if Oliver has no responses to that, we're actually going to tap all of our mana and cast a Knight of the Reliquary here.
Okay. So now we know for sure that we are dead on the following turn. We won't be able to have blockers through it. Or I'm sorry, we'll be dead. We aren't seeing another turn after this next one.
Right.
Wait. No, we're seeing another turn after this next one. But yeah.
Okay. The clock is there.
Yeah. Two turns from now, when Corey has his second turn after this one, we will be done so. I will go for an end of turn brainstorm.
Sure.
We're looking 1, 2,
Oh, does
3.
it?
Ooh, we did not
Oh,
find
you know what?
nothing.
They are totally correct. We have to rewind. I cannot play. The Thespian stage enters the battlefield tapped. Thank you so much, Logan.
Oh, that is very, very true.
Yeah, and flagstones puts the land in the battlefield tap too.
So the nice thing about this
Thank you, Logan.
is I'm able to. What am I ditching here? I think I do need to ditch one food chain. I would like to be ditching some amount of lands. I'd love to be ditching 2, to be totally honest. However, because of this choke, I'm not going to be able to fully do that. I need to keep this Source of Plowshares. I'll actually be spending it on this turn. Actually, so I can spend it on this turn, I'll ditch this Savannah right now. I'll go ahead and fetch with this Misty Rainforest. Go and get that Savannah out. And I'm going to spend this Source of Plowshares on the Reclaimer right now.
We have no response to that, so the Reclaimer is just gonna go to the wayside here. We're gonna gain 1 life.
So the nice thing is the threat doesn't seem that intense now, right? So natural Dark Depths is the thing that can punish us here. However, it's more likely that you don't have Dark Depths, and so we do want to be spending the swords now before you're able to get it. There is the chance of us being able to be punished by this moment right here. However, I think we are playing to the correct outs.
Sure, I would agree
I'll
with
go
you.
ahead and draw. We are not going to be having this Tundra untap, unfortunately. I'll go ahead and draw. We drew other fetch land. At this point, I think I am just going to go ahead and jam the Ranger. Be able to go and get... I'll spend Windswept Heath on this, actually. I'm going to Windswept Heath, fetch. Go and get my basic plains. This choke really messing up in terms of how well we're able to dig effectively. However, if I'm able to get this ranger out quickly, the point of doing this and having the ranger on board is going to be so um, I can essentially go and get the walking ballista right now. There is some potential thought of going and getting the ballista instead, or I'm sorry, the noble instead. However, I want to be able to with the constant threat of this combo coming down at any point, I do want to be able to just go ahead and get one of my exile effects and win from there. But we're going to go ahead and cast out the ranger. The great thing about this is, in theory, if I don't need to sack this for mana off the food chain, but I can do is sack it to its own ability and turn off the threat of Force of Vigor on the turn that I combo off.
Right. Low carb diet.
But
Thanks
I
so
will
much for the
pass to
follow.
you.
Sure. I'll go to untap, and we will draw for turn. So we essentially drew exactly what we needed. Like Oliver said,
No.
at any given time, the combo is always there, the threat of it coming down. So we did draw a Dark Depths, which means that Oliver pretty much has to win through this. This also allows us to, if we had gone and gotten a Yavimaya instead of the Thespian stage, we wouldn't be in the position we were at right now. However, we're kind of strapped mana wise. I'd like to play Knight of the Reliquary. I'd like to play a Ramonep Excavator, but I already played a land for turn. So I think at this point we don't have a way to protect Merit Lage at instant speed. So we're kind of screwed in that regard. So we're gonna actually just pass turn here, and hopefully that Oliver is not able to combo and not able to stop us when we go to our turn.
I'll go ahead and draw. And go ahead and play out the Prismatic Vista.
Mm-hmm.
There's on board. I unfortunately I could try to go and get Brainstorm and try to hit exactly. All right, so there's two potential lines here. I can go and fetch blue and be gambling on this Brainstorm, finding exactly Eternal Scourge or one of the three Mist Hollow Griffins, and go to combo right now. I lose to Force of Vigor if I do that. The other thing is I'm immediately dead. However, if I keep this Prismatic Vista up right now, and Corey goes to do it, I'm then able to try to block with Ice Quaddle, but I lose to Crop Rotation or Natural Suzerain Step.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is whether or not I think he has it, and whether or not I think I need to be gambling on it at the moment. I am. Oh, this is difficult. So there's no Knight and no Elvish Reclaimer in play, which of course would make this easy, knowing that we would just lose trying to block this thing. Huh. I'm gonna go ahead and what situation? It gives me a single draw step, however, if I wait, right? So I'll land. It'll be tapped underneath the choke, and I'll be in the same position, but just be one card deeper. I think I am going to go for it in this moment.
Okay.
We'll
Prez,
go
how are you
ahead
doing
and do the
today?
snow-covered island. Oh, Prez has to go off to work in the middle of the woods. Prez, thank you so much for joining us for a little bit here.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. How are the storms by you, Oliver? I can hear it rumbling from my studio downstairs.
So for those who don't know, Corey and I live a good 100 miles away from each other in the good old state of Wisconsin.
We found each
Uh,
other on the Discord.
Funny the way the world works. We have been in a drought for quite a good amount of time until
Mm-hmm.
this last week, and all of a sudden it has been flash flood warnings all over the place because
Tornadoes.
Lord knows the ground can no longer absorb water after how dry it was. My plants have been having a very hard time outside. If that's what the question is, I'm going to go ahead and brainstorm. This is it.
Okay,
This is the moment.
this is the moment.
All right, we're gonna go one food chain, two ice ink waddle. Last one ponder. Uh, that is gonna be all that she wrote. We're gonna go ahead and make it happen. Land was already spent. We're gonna go like this. And pass.
At end step, we are going to activate Thespian Stage, copying Dark Depths. And we're going to make a Mirror Lage. We will go to untap, and we will draw for turn.
So the real question: did you have the crop rotation or Sejiri step?
No.
No,
I
no.
did have Force of Vigor, Ramanap, 2 Knights, and I just drew a Sword of Plowshares. So
So you have swords then, so I can't block either. That's the other way
correct.
that makes it so it doesn't work.
But this I literally just did draw off the top. So yeah.
So that is the other way of being punished. Well, that was a fantastic match. It really came down to the last moment. Let's see. So these are the two. What was the next one? Oh no, we weren't getting there for a while. Oh, there it is.
So
GG. That was a fun match.
that absolutely was. Choke ended up being really the MVP that was allowed us to slow the game down. That way, with us not really drawing exactly what we needed, it gave us the opportunity to still play around and do things at our speed, in essence. You know.
Well, yeah, it was fantastic. It made it so because my hand was so heavily emphasized on my cantrips and like the Ice Fang Quaddle effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where all of a sudden it made it so I was really hamstringed on mana, and I had to choose my points on what cantrips I was going to be spending my blue pips on.
Right.
And yeah, it really kind of came down to us of seeing the pressure, like the writing on the wall, right? I am really happy that we went for it in that moment, just because swords, crop rotations, the Jerry Scap all stopped me from actually being able to block in any meaningful capacity. I think that really was the moment to just kind of go for it. However, of course, now we also know that it was done no matter what because there was that force of vigor in hand. You know what I mean? The writing
Right.
was just locked in no matter what the out was.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
So I have a real quick question.
Sure.
If I was just watching this stream and I'm like, yeah, I like what's going on here. I want to get involved with the MTG Paper Legacy Discord. How could I do that? How could I get in on what we're doing here at this fine Discord?
Well, the easiest way is to follow the link. So we have commands on Twitch, !Discord. This link right there is your very own personal link. You can click on, it'll open up your Discord app. It'll take you to Discord or your browser. And you can sign up to be part of the MTGPL for your very self. You can bring your sleeved up cards, or if you don't have a legacy deck, proxy it. We are 100% proxy friendly. We have 0 barrier to entry. If you'd like to play Legacy with us, we have our Legacy Fight Nights. We have our Legacy Live series. We have Saturday weekly challenges. We have Sunday bi-weekly Euro and APAC time slots. Our Invitational was this previous Saturday. It was a huge event. Hundreds of people watched. We had tons of people grinding through our monthly leagues playing to be able to get enough points or accrue enough points so that way they could fight it out in a top 16. Yeah, that would be your easiest way. Another way you could is always follow us right here on Twitch and click so that way you get notifications when we go live. We're also available on Twitter. We are MTG Paper Legacy on Twitter as well, Oliver.
That we are. All right, y'all. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back for our second matchup that we'll be able to bring to y'all. Just stay here, wait for a couple minutes, and you'll be able to see these two beautiful faces again in just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be back, guys.